launch trajectory and countdown net. Pad is clear.
10, 9, 8.
Launch auto sequence has started.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go for launch.
Vehicle is supersonic. Stage separation confirmed. Dragon separation confirmed. Stage 1 is transonic. Landing legs have deployed. And Falcon 9 has landed.
Hello, it's Thursday, March 30th, 2023, and on your screen is a live view of the Falcon 9 as it waits for its 7:29 a.m. Pacific time launch from Slick 4E from Vandenberg Space Force Base off the coast of California. My name is Jonathan Dweck, and I'm an operations engineer here at SpaceX, joining you from our headquarters about 150 miles south of our launch site. Today's launch marks SpaceX's 221st launch overall, our 22nd launch of the year, and our second launch just this week. Our customer today is the Space Development Agency, also known as the SDA. The SDA Tranche 0 mission will send 8 transport layer and 2 tracking layer satellites to low Earth orbit today. Today's mission is in support of the SDA's overall constellation, called the Proliferated Warfighter Space Architecture, or PWSA for short. The SDA prioritizes speed by leveraging commercial advances and delivering capabilities on 2-year timelines with the goal of quickly delivering space-based capabilities to support terrestrial missions through development, fielding, and operation of the PWSA. The payload on board the second stage today, Tranche 0, will allow combatant commands to start to develop their exercise and operational plans around access to data they can expect to receive from future tranches of their constellation. It's also worth mentioning, at the request of our customer, we will not be sharing any views from the second stage today, and will therefore end our webcast at around the T plus 8 minute mark, shortly after Falcon 9 touches back down onto land. At T minus 9 minutes, the range is currently ready to support. Weather is currently at a 40% chance of violation, but we are proceeding with an on-time liftoff today at 7:29 a.m. Pacific. And finally, the vehicle and payload are in good health. Let's now turn our attention to a brief explanation of orbital mechanics. If you're not too familiar with getting to orbit actually means, here's a quick overview. In order to get the rocket and our payload into orbit, the rocket has to not only go up really fast, it also has to go sideways. As we ascend, we tilt the engines, technical term being gimbaling, and that turns the rocket horizontally. We're still going up, but now we're also heading horizontally away from the launch pad. It's what we call a gravity turn. The rocket typically needs to go around 17,500 miles per hour horizontally in order to avoid being pulled back down to Earth and get into orbit. To help demonstrate this concept, imagine firing a cannon from a really high mountain. The cannonball will arc, and then gravity will pull it down to Earth. As you increase the power, the cannonball will land farther and farther away. Eventually, if you could continue to increase the power, the cannonball will be going so fast that it ends up in free fall around the Earth. Gravity is still pulling down on the cannonball, but it's going so fast that it never hits the ground. This arc, which constantly misses Earth, is called an orbit. So when we get to liftoff today, we'll watch the orientation of Falcon 9. You'll see we go straight up until about T plus 10 seconds, at which point we begin that shift in orientation so Falcon 9 can go sideways really fast. So be sure to keep an eye out in just a few minutes. Located at the very top of Falcon 9 on your screen, we have the payload fairing. It measures approximately 40 feet in length and 17 feet in diameter. To put that size into perspective, an average fire truck is about 40 feet long and 12 feet wide. So a fire truck would fit quite comfortably inside our payload fairing. While on Earth, the fairing's primary job is to protect the payload from contamination. Then, at liftoff and through ascent, the fairing will also shield against aerothermal loads and heating. Once we reach the vacuum of space, we will jettison the fairing, and the second stage will continue on its journey into orbit. Fairing half supporting today's mission are flight proven, with one half flying for its 6th time and the other half flying for its 4th. Below the payload fairing is the 2nd stage, which is responsible for propelling the payload to its drop-off orbit in space. Not only does SpaceX's 2nd stage look similar to the 1st stage, that larger stage below, it also has the same diameter, uses the same metal in the tanks, same computers, same propellant, and nearly the same engine. This allows us to use similar tooling, design, and systems, which results in greater efficiency and reliability. The 1st and 2nd stages are connected by the interstage, which houses the pneumatic pushers that allow stage separation during flight. The interstage also houses the 2nd stage engine, called the Merlin vacuum engine, or MVAC engine for short. And as a reminder, for today's launch, we will not be sharing any views from the 2nd stage at the request of our customer, and we will be ending our webcast at around the T+8 minute mark, shortly after Falcon 9 makes its way back down onto land. Making our way down the rocket, the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle is the 1st stage and is the primary part of the rocket that gets reused multiple times. On the bottom of the 1st stage are 9 Merlin M1D engines that accelerate the vehicle through Earth's atmosphere and that enable landing back on Earth following stage separation. The 1st stage supporting today's mission is flying for the 2nd time today, having previously supported a past Starlink mission. And today we'll attempt to recover the 1st stage back on land at Landing Zone 4, which you're seeing on your screen now. If successful, this would mark our 183rd overall successful recovery of an orbital class rocket, including both Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy 1st stage landings. So far, we're at T-5 minutes and counting, and all systems are go for an on-time liftoff.
Falcon 9 tanks are pressurizing for strongback retract.
The range is currently ready to support. The weather is still a 40% chance of violation, but we're still proceeding with an on-time liftoff today. And the vehicle and payload continue to be healthy. If for some reason we're unable to launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow at the same time. Next up, the truss structure next to the vehicle, known as the transporter erector, or TE, will start to retract. The transporter erector is that truss structure next to the rocket that is used to roll out and to route propellants and electrical power to the vehicle in preparation for launch. In preparation for retraction, as the TE clam's arms will open, as you're seeing on your screen now, and the transporter erector will then begin to pull away from the rocket slightly. Then, at T0, hydraulics pull the transporter erector even further away from Falcon 9 as it lifts off. And as you can see, the TE has started to retract away from the vehicle. At this point in the countdown, both the 1st and 2nd stages are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen, or LOX. Those white clouds that you're seeing around the outside of the vehicle are completely normal. During propellant loading, we vent cold gas that forms above the LOX tank surface, and what you're seeing is a result of that cold gas coming in contact with the warmer California air and condensing. Both 1st stage and 2nd stage should finish loading propellant at about a minute apart from one another. 1st stage finishing up at T-3 minutes, and 2nd stage at around T-2 minutes. Then at T-60 seconds, Falcon 9 will be in start.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
Heard that call out for LOX load complete on our 1st stage.
Yeah, stage 1 POGO.
This means the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown once we approach T-60 seconds. Just inside of 2 seconds, we light the Merlin 1D engines and we're set for liftoff. The SDA Tranche 0 payload continues to be healthy, and the Falcon 9 team is currently tracking no issues on the rocket. So let's listen in to the terminal count. We're approaching LOX load completion on our 2nd stage in around 30 seconds from now. Beautiful day up in Vandenberg. If you're in the area, definitely check the skies as Falcon 9 makes its way. Should be some great views. Expecting that call out of stage 2 LOX load completion momentarily.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
And there you heard it. LOX load is now complete on our second stage. As a reminder, those white clouds that you see venting from our TE, that's completely normal. Next up, we're approaching startup. That'll occur in around 30 seconds from now. Gorgeous shot of our launch site.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There you heard that call out. Falcon 9's onboard flight computers have taken control of the launch countdown. Now we're just waiting to hear from our launch director.
LD is go for launch.
You heard the call out there. All systems are go for launch of Falcon 9 and Space Development Agency Tranche 0. Let's sit back and watch as Falcon 9 heads into space.
T-minus 30 seconds. Seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, abort.
Abort, abort, abort.
Launch abort is running.
Yeah. Am I good to go? If you've been following along, you know we had an abort during the launch countdown at around the T-minus 3 second mark. Prior to that countdown, countdown was proceeding nominally. Now please stand by while we check in with the teams to see if we can get more information.
This is the launch director on countdown 1. We've had an abort. Currently assessing the situation. The vehicle is healthy.
If you've been following along, you know we had an abort during the countdown at the T-minus 3 second mark. We just heard from our launch director. The vehicle and payload do remain healthy. Keep in mind the purpose of the countdown is to help us catch potential issues prior to flight. There are 1,000 ways a launch can go wrong and only one way it can go right. Given that, we are overly cautious on the ground, and if the team or the vehicle sees anything that just looks even slightly off, they'll stop the countdown. Again, the vehicle and the payload are in good health. This will end our launch attempt for today. The next launch opportunity is tomorrow at the same time, 7:29 a.m. Pacific. Hopefully you'll join us. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.